Hi, I'm Sean David Cohen, author and teacher of 14 and Out, a comprehensive smoking cessation program unlike any other. Congratulations, you've made the right choice. When I meet a smoker who wants to quit, I feel like they're in my family and they're coming to me for help. Have no doubts, you have the motivation and you've decided enough is enough. If you're a pack-a-day smoker, you're spending about $2,000 a year. And if you smoke 2 packs a day, that's about $4 grand a year. You're developing medical and mental health problems. You're affecting your family and your friends. But most of all, you could be living a healthier lifestyle. So whether you're 16 years old or 60, and whether you've been smoking for 2 years or 20, this program is designed for you. But remember, 95% of smokers who attempt to quit without help fail in the first 6 months. You need the tools to quit, and that's why I'm here. This 14 and Out course not only addresses all of the reasons you smoke, but all of the reasons you haven't quit. It's not just about the nicotine. The nicotine addiction is actually broken in 3 to 4 days, but it takes up to 14 days to free yourself of your habits and your rituals and to replenish your system. When I was 6 years old, my grandfather Saul smoked himself to death, and my mother watched him die in a hospital bed. I've also lost several friends, close friends, to cancer. But since graduating from the University of Georgia with a degree in journalism and a master's degree in education, I've spent 3 years researching cigarettes. And let me tell you, if you keep an open mind for the next 60 minutes and put to use the knowledge and the tools of this course, you can quit smoking cigarettes for good. Now, before we get started, if you're a visual learner like me, go ahead and print the entire guide. That way you'll have in front of you the 20-question pretest, the hands-on activity section, and the nutritional guide. Then read the introduction and take the 20-question pretest to see how much you really know about your habit. After that, you'll need to gather some common household products. Now you can have very small samples of these. You will need bleach, ammonia, pesticide, fiberglass insulation, and toothpaste. Now for the fiberglass insulation, you can simply pinch an inch from your attic, or usually find it around the hot water heater. For the pesticide, any kind of pesticide will do. Roundup, weed killer, insecticide. Check in your garage or your shed for that. You'll also need 1 cigarette, any brand will do, a pair of scissors, and a napkin or paper towel to wipe your fingers off. One last thing, if you happen to have a magnifying lens, grab that too. It's going to come in handy. That's it. You can now pause the video to gather the supplies and take the 20-question pretest. And remember, get excited, because this is the end of your habit. Let's get started. Now that you've taken the 20-question pretest, you see that there are a lot of aspects about your habit that you have not yet questioned. If you notice, there's 4 categories for the questions: ingredients, addiction, behavior, and quitting. Question number 1. Can you name 5 ingredients in a cigarette? Most people will guess tobacco, paper, a filter, and then they'll guess 1 chemical, like formaldehyde. Then they're stuck. There's actually 700 or more chemicals in a cigarette. A lot of people want to quit smoking, but they usually say, "Not right now, I'm too stressed." But it's actually the chemicals in cigarettes that are stressing you out. I'm about to show you the 5 worst chemicals and how they affect your body, your brain, and your central nervous system. Question number 2. Why are cigarettes white? They come from trees. Trees are brown. They're bleached. You're smoking bleach. Now a lot of people eat white foods, not thinking twice about it. We eat white rice, white sugar, white bread, white pasta. We even use white coffee filters and white flour. And so we're ingesting bleach. What makes it so bad is that you're smoking bleach. Every puff, every drag of a cigarette, you're bringing bleach into your system. And it's affecting your organs. Your cleansing organs like your pancreas and your kidneys are working overtime. And that gives you a general feeling of tiredness. Also, you're excreting those poisons from your body. So you're putting a strain on your prostate and your bladder. And that can lead to the development of cancer in those areas. Most people know what bleach smells like if you've been in the floors of a school or a hospital. But what we're going to do is take your sample of bleach right now and smell it to remind yourself how powerful this chemical is that's in your cigarettes. I've got my sample here. And you don't want to breathe in too hard, but you smell how terrible that chemical is, and you can imagine what it's doing to your system to bring you down and to make you crave another cigarette. Question number 3. Why are cigarettes so addicting? In the 1960s, when low-tar cigarettes became popular, they had less taste and less kick. Scientists for Marlboro discovered that adding ammonia to the manufacturing process increased that nicotine kick as much as 35 times. So instead of getting 3 to 4 milligrams of nicotine per cigarette, you're getting up to 100 milligrams of potency. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Minnesota actually sued Marlboro, and the court case was settled for $6 billion in hush money. But cigarette manufacturers are still using ammonia today to freebase the nicotine to make cigarettes more addicting. The cigarette smoke you're inhaling is actually in a vapor form now, thanks to the ammonia, and reaches your heart and brain within 3 seconds. All of the premium brands use ammonia to freebase the tobacco to make the kick stronger. Smoking a pack a day, right now, about 20 cigarettes, is equivalent to smoking 700 cigarettes in 1960. If you do the math, 20 cigarettes times 35 times the strength in milligrams. Also, the ammonia is a very powerful chemical. It's burning your windpipe and your epithelial tissue, which lines your lungs. It's the same tissue inside your mouth, inside your throat, that's inside your lungs, and you're burning that tissue. Right now, I'd like you to take out your sample of ammonia. It's okay if it's in the bottle or a small sample in a cup. And do this with me. Be very careful and take a small sniff of the ammonia. You don't want to inhale this one because it'll knock you out. And you'll feel the vapors go up your nose. It's very toxic. This is what's got you addicted to the nicotine. And this is what's bringing you down and making you crave another cigarette. Question number 4. How do the tobacco leaves contain poison? A very large chemical company called Monsanto uses biotechnology to actually splice together Roundup, which is weed killer, a pesticide, with the seedlings of the tobacco plant, so that when the tobacco grows, it contains Roundup. That way, it is immune to spraying pesticides on the plants. Before that, if you sprayed too much pesticide, the plants would either wither or die. Now they can use more Roundup to treat the plants, to protect them from not only insects, but any life form which could damage the tobacco leaves. Pesticide is the mother of all insecticides, herbicides, everything, and it kills anything that attacks the tobacco leaves. This is the main reason you feel anxiety. The pesticide, which contains over 700 chemicals, is affecting your central nervous system. This is what actually feeds the want of the feeling of relief that drives you to have another cigarette. The nicotine actually wears off in 15 to 20 minutes. But it's the anxiety, it's the want to feel normal again, to feel relaxed, that drives you to smoke another cigarette. And combined with the bleach and the ammonia, you've got this toxic chemical mix that's bringing you down and feeding the fix. Do this activity with me also. Take your sample of pesticide and smell that. It's an awful smell. You've probably smelled it if you've used Roundup or weed killer in your yard. And remember that this toxic chemical is going into your system every time you take a drag of a cigarette. Question number 5. Why does it take up to 15 years for a cigarette filter to disintegrate? If a cigarette filter was just made of cotton and paper, and I threw it in the yard, after 3 or 4 rainstorms, it would dissolve and disintegrate. A cigarette filter actually has tiny glass fibers that create a buffer from the heat. When you burn a cigarette, it burns at up to 1700 degrees Fahrenheit during the inhale. The filter serves as a buffer to that heat. Just like it does in your attic, fiberglass insulation creates a buffer from the heat of the sun, so you run your air conditioning and keeps your house cool. If you cut open your cigarette, take your scissors and cut open the filter, because it's hard to rip with your fingers, and peel apart some of the filter and spread it out so you can actually see the fibers. Okay? Then if you take your fiberglass insulation sample and you hold it up next to the filter, and if you have a magnifying glass, it helps a lot. You can actually see the fibers look almost identical. These tiny fibers actually escape the filter into your mouth, your throat, and your lungs. And they create tiny tears in your tissue, in your lungs. If you've ever been in an attic and gotten fiberglass insulation on your hands or arms, it's very irritating and can cause dermatitis. This, mixed with the tar of your cigarette, lodges in your lungs and affects your breathing. Now take your sample of toothpaste. I use black caulking in the classroom because it resembles the tar from the cigarettes. And if you mix a little bit of that, you're going to get your fingers a little dirty for this part, with the fiberglass or the filter, this is the mess. This is what's clogging your lung tissue and keeping your alveoli, the tiny air sacs in your lungs, from expanding. A lot of smokers, when they wake up in the morning, wake up coughing because their breathing goes out to 100% from 75%. This is why. I've met an intensive care nurse who said that the fibers, the tiny glass fibers in the x-rays of their lungs look like ground glass. Some smokers in the last stages of cancer will actually cough up blood because these fibers have created tiny tears in the tissue in their lungs. Question number 6. Why do cigarettes burn so hot, so evenly, and never go out in heavy wind? If you're riding down the highway and you hang your cigarette out the window, it doesn't go out. Also, the ashes may fall off a little bit unevenly, but then they catch up. Also, if you've ever been burned by a cigarette, you know how hot they are. I've been burned, it leaves a scar. Go ahead and pick up your cigarette and rip open the paper part, the stem that holds the tobacco leaves. Tear away a little bit of the paper and look at the edges of it through your magnifying lens. You'll notice there's tiny fibers protruding from the paper. Those are actually made up of plastic. It's called cellulose acetate. Cellulose acetate is what is used in photo film. You're burning plastic, That's why they burn so hot and so evenly and don't go out in heavy wind. Also, a cigarette is an efficient nicotine delivery device. The cigarette manufacturers do not want you to have to relight your cigarette 2 or 3 times, or you'll figure it's a waste of money, put it out, and quit the habit. There's no waste with a cigarette, just sickness. Question 7. Now that you know what goes into the manufacturing of a cigarette, let's go over the addiction part. What effect do all the chemicals have on your body? The nicotine wears off in about 15 minutes, but the chemicals bring you down, make you feel anxious, in need of relief from that anxiety. The chemicals drive you to have less confidence. If you can kill the urge for the cigarette, you kill the habit. The first step is to remove the chemicals from the equation. What is the ammunition that would kill the urge? Question number 8. Why do the pills, the patch, and the gum fail so many who try to quit smoking? They all have one flaw in common. They only address the nicotine, and they're not even doing that right. Remember that ammonia-treated nicotine gives you up to 100 milligrams of potency. The patch only delivers 0.9 milligrams per hour of nicotine, not even close. The pills actually block your nicotine receptors in your brain, so you're not receiving any nicotine at all. And the gum delivers between 3 to 4 milligrams of nicotine per piece. How many packs would you have to chew to be getting the same amount of nicotine that a cigarette delivers? To quit, and to quit for good, you have to address everything: the nutrition, the vitamins, the supplements that replace the habit and replenish your system. You have to address the behaviors and the rituals that you go through to succeed in staying off of cigarettes. Next question. What government agencies regulate the potency of nicotine? The FDA, Food and Drug Administration, do they address it? No. The CDC, Center for Disease Control, do they address the potency of nicotine? No. Nobody does. There's nothing on the box or the carton about how many milligrams of nicotine you're getting in a cigarette. Plus, ammonia-treated nicotine doesn't show up on nicotine level testing anyway. Think about this. If you buy beer or liquor, you can look at the alcohol by content and you know how much you're getting. There's a huge difference between drinking a beer and drinking grain alcohol. Cigarettes, there's no warning, there's no label whatsoever. Next question. Besides nicotine, what is it about cigarettes that you're addicted to? Is it the environment change when you leave a restaurant or work and go outside to smoke a cigarette? You're getting fresh air. Is it the alone time? If your children are loud, if it's hectic in your house or at a party, and you leave that environment, are you getting alone time, time to actually meditate? Some people say smoking cigarettes just makes them feel normal. It makes them feel sane so that they can deal with the daily activities or stress of life. Does it give you a confidence boost? Do you like it after meals because it relaxes you? Do you wake up and smoke a cigarette? Maybe a menthol so that you can breathe better? Or is it a supplement to alcohol? Now that you know about the chemical addiction, let's go over your habits and your behaviors that you formed as a smoker. Is your breathing pattern better when you're smoking? Do what I do for a moment. Pretend you have a cigarette. Is that how you breathe in a normal day when you're not smoking? Think about this. Most cigarette smokers get about 12 puffs off of one cigarette. If you smoke a pack a day, about 20 cigarettes, that's about 240 times that you inhale and exhale differently than you do during the rest of the day. If you smoke 2 packs a day, that's about 500 times that your breathing pattern is different. People fail to address this when they quit smoking. I used to work for a publishing company, and we had deadlines, and it was very stressful. Half of the graphic designers smoked cigarettes and would go out every hour on the hour and smoke. Now they were taking a break from the stress, from the work, and going outside and smoking. A friend of mine and I used to go outside also, but we weren't smoking. We just needed some fresh air and a break. We wanted to de-stress ourselves also. When the boss came out and looked at us funny because we weren't smoking, we went like this, and she went back inside. When you quit smoking, you need to take fake breaks, especially during the first 2 weeks. If you work inside, change your environment and take some breaths. Inhale, hold it, exhale, and see if you don't feel the same feelings of relief. Do you have a hand-to-mouth habit? Some people will drink a 32-ounce soda, like a diet soda, all day. Have you ever seen the huge ones, like the 64-ounce? They'll have that by their side, especially if they're trying to diet, and take a sip every few minutes. That's a hand-to-mouth habit. If you smoke a pack a day, you're doing this 250 times. 2 packs a day, 500 times a day. That's a habit. It's a ritual. You need to replace it. There's a lot of things you can do. Some people drink spring water. Some people eat little niblets of chocolate, mixed nuts, celery, carrots. You could also take your vitamins and supplements at that time. Make yourself a fruit smoothie or a veggie smoothie and keep that with you in a glass container with ice. When you take those breaks, when you have that hand-to-mouth motion, you're replacing a habit that you have formed as a smoker. Next question. Is smoking a form of meditation? Yes, you do change your environment almost all the time when you smoke. You'll leave a restaurant or a bar or a party, you leave the hustle and bustle, and you get fresh air. Cold or hot outside, people will go out to smoke that cigarette. Also, you may be getting some one-on-one time with a friend, so you get a chance to actually think, to relax away from the environment you were in. But are you really thinking better? Are you really meditating? The chemicals are invading your system. You need to replace and replenish your system with things that motivate you, with things that make you feel better, not chemicals that are going to bring you down after a few minutes and drive you to need another cigarette. You might even go out and sit under a tree and write or doodle. Replace the hand-to-mouth habit with something productive. Next question. Why do smokers enjoy a cigarette after meals? The nicotine is definitely not helping with digestion. Think about it. They're changing their breathing. Breathing aids in digestion. Some people take a short walk or a jog or just go outside for fresh air. Your 12 to 15 puffs off the cigarette is relaxing you because you're breathing differently. What will you do as a non-smoker to replace that habit? Take fake smoke breaks. Remember, during the first 2 weeks, it's essential to break yourself of the habits that you've formed as a smoker. Next question. Now that you recognize several of your behavioral habits, it's time to talk about quitting properly so that you never go back to smoking again. Is there any such thing as organic tobacco? Yes. Organic tobacco is tobacco that has not been modified. It doesn't have weed killer as part of it. It hasn't been doused in pesticides. It doesn't have the additives like ammonia and other chemicals. So this is the key to weaning yourself off of the ammonia-treated tobacco. If you buy organic tobacco from a cigar shop or a tobacco shop, you're avoiding all of the major chemicals that are adding to the addiction. This is the key to weaning yourself off of cigarettes. You kill the urge to smoke, you kill the habit. Next question. What is the art of breathing? The art of breathing involves breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, and also focusing on the moments between breaths. Focus on the moments when you're not inhaling or exhaling. This releases anxiety. Think of your goals. You're better than smoking. You have the will to quit. You can detoxify your system. Use the art of breathing to relax your central nervous system. Next question. Why do people often put on weight after they quit smoking cigarettes? There's several answers to this question. One, nicotine is a stimulant in the short term, but in the long term it's a depressant. When people are depressed, they usually eat more food. Also, a lot of people go on diet foods after they quit smoking so they won't put on weight. But the artificial sweeteners like aspartame, sucralose, sorbitol, they are chemicals and they trick your body because they taste sweet. So your body actually craves sugar, it craves more food, it makes you hungrier. Also, because those artificial sweeteners are chemicals, they're adding to the chemical addiction that you already have in your system. You need to replace and replenish your system with the proper nutrition, vitamins, supplements, smoothies, mixed nuts, some of the other things we talked about. Now, how can you learn to hate cigarettes? I used to be a meat eater, but upon doing research and understanding what they did to the animals, I quit eating meat because I didn't want to ingest the hormones and the chemicals and the antibiotics that they give the animals. You've been fooled. Cigarettes have all of these chemicals that are robbing your system, and you have developed a righteous hatred now of cigarettes, knowing what you've learned in this course so far. You're ingesting plastic, fiberglass, pesticide, ammonia, and bleach. Cut out the chemicals. Love your new healthy life. Now we're on to the quitting questions. How will you deal with the urge and the stress? You need the ammunition to kill the urge. There are great nutritionists out there like David Wolfe, W-O-L-F-E, and Mike Adams from Natural News, the Health Ranger. You can go on YouTube and search their names and watch videos about nutrition and how to revitalize and replenish your system with the proper nutrients so you feel natural energy and you won't feel stressed and you won't crave another cigarette. How will you win an athletic challenge with a smoker? As a non-smoker, your cardio will be better. You can outlast a smoker just by continuing to compete. Smokers are dealing with the tar and the fiberglass in their lung tissue, and it slows you down and it keeps you from leading a healthy lifestyle. One final question before we move on to the nutrition and mindset section. Why do pills like Chantix and Zyban actually make things worse for smokers? The pills create a barrier in your brain that block the nicotine receptors so that your brain cannot get any nicotine at all. But what they also do is block your dopamine and your serotonin, the natural body chemistry that helps you deal with stress, that helps you deal with anxiety, and helps you feel relaxed after a stressful situation. As a smoker, you need to replace the nicotine with naturally occurring dopamine. There's a supplement called dopamine, which provides mucuna. Mucuna is a natural herb that brings your dopamine levels back to normal. During the first 2 weeks of quitting cigarettes, this is vital so that you don't crave that feeling, that relief that you get from the nicotine, which only lasts a few minutes. Your fears of quitting will actually subside, and so will your cravings. Replace the nicotine with natural herbs and supplements, and you kill the cravings, you kill the urge, you kill the habit. Now we move on to the nutrition and mindset section. This is actually the hardest part to keep an open mind about. Many smokers, if you tell them that they can replace the feeling that nicotine gives them with food and supplements and vitamins, they say no way, but it will. Now let's talk about nutrition and mindset. This is the hardest part to keep an open mind about. You may be thinking, no way can food, vitamins and supplements replace the feeling that nicotine gives me, but it will. Remember, it's the chemicals that are bringing you down. The following is how you replenish and revitalize every living cell in your body and your mind and remain a non-smoker. First, spring water. Drink a lot of spring water. This balances the system and aids in healthy cell production. Next, dark organic chocolate. I'm not talking about Snicker bars or Reese's peanut butter cups here, but the dark organic chocolate is great for depression. It's a great substitute for what nicotine is doing for you now. Vitamin B complex. Vitamin B complex is essential for stabilizing your central nervous system. This is how we're going to zero out what the pesticide is doing to your system. Look for the vitamin B complex with niacin. Amino acid. The amino acid L-tyrosine. This actually cures anxiety and is good for chronic fatigue. It also helps with fibromyalgia. A lot of ladies might be familiar with this. That is a part of a central nervous system disorder that could be coming from all the chemicals in the cigarettes. Tons of athletes use L-tyrosine. Why shouldn't you? Ask for it at GNC or the vitamin shop. Mucuna. We went over this before. Mucuna is a must. This will cure your dopamine deficiency. Remember, nicotine has depleted your dopamine. Compare this to a borderline diabetic. A borderline diabetic has taken in so much sugar that their body has stopped or almost stopped creating insulin. Your body is not creating enough dopamine because of the nicotine levels. Once you stop taking in the nicotine, supplement and you'll bring your dopamine levels back to normal and you won't have the anxiety and you'll feel motivated again. Medicinal mushrooms. Not the mushrooms you buy at the grocery store, the button mushrooms. These are medicinal mushrooms that actually grow on the sides of trees, but they're in a dried powder form that you can ask for at a vitamin shop or GNC. Reishi mushrooms are key. Most of the mushroom complexes come in 4 or 5 different kinds of mushrooms, like lion's mane or maitake or shiitake mushrooms. These build your immunity so that you can say goodbye to the colds and the flus and bronchial issues that you might have as a smoker. Medicinal mushrooms. Use garlic, honey, cinnamon, olive oil, and organic chocolate in all of your favorite dishes. I saw a video recently of a man who was 109 years old and he looked like he was no older than 75. He swore that these 5 ingredients, in addition to juicing vegetables in his Jack LaLanne juicer, kept him vibrant, alive, and healthy. He was 109. Avoid all artificial sweeteners. Aspartame, sucralose, sorbitol. They're in equal Splenda. These are actually feeding your hunger. They're making you feel hungrier. And they're a chemical in themselves. Look for waters and drinks instead of sodas that have nutrients in them, like hint or herbal. Also, eat lots of fresh vegetables. Avoid soy. Kale and cabbage, those are excellent for bringing your serotonin levels back up. I've even bought kale chips, which are pretty tasty. Imagine this. You quit smoking. You're spending $200 less a month. Your breath is fresh. Your clothes don't smell like smoke. You've been working out and you feel great. Then something stressful happens, and a friend standing next to you lights up a cigarette, maybe even the brand you used to smoke. You look at it for a second, and you laugh. And then you go like this. And you grab a bottle of water, and you remember that you're a non-smoker, and that you're never going back. You did it. We're done. Now take the nutritional guide and $35, maybe $50 and go to the vitamin shop or GNC and create new habits for yourself. You came with the motivation and now you have the tools. Stay with nutrition. Ask for help. Watch this video again with a friend. Visit naturalnews.com regularly. I'm a journalist and a reporter that writes for Natural News. You can do it. Good luck. Thank you. We changed our environment. Fresh air. Knowledge is power. Once you have it, nobody can take it away from you. No one can break into your house or your car and steal it. You can't lend it out and forget to get it back. And by sharing it, you make yourself smarter. Teachers get smarter every day when they develop new strategies and teach what they know. And now that you have the knowledge from the 14 and out course, you have to put it to use. You should start surrounding yourself with like-minded people, positive people, not the naysayers who might shoot down your strategies for healthy living, your new healthy lifestyle. See, unfortunately, sometimes people are like crabs in a barrel. If they see you escaping from negativity or from a difficult situation and they can't escape themselves, sometimes they'll pick your brain and try to find out if they can do what you're doing. And if they can't, they might try to drag you down and pull you away from it. In other words, the crabs at the bottom of the barrel sometimes reach up and pull down the crabs that are at the top that are about to escape. Now that you have the knowledge from the 14 and out course, you're going to feel the detoxification and you're going to feel a wave of positivity come over you. Whenever you make a huge decision to do something positive, it's inevitable that right afterwards you're going to run into some kind of obstacle. Something's going to get in your way, like a roadblock, and deter you from where you're heading. You have to rise above it. You have to move forward and focus on your commitment. When you purchase cigarettes, you're buying negativity. You're supporting disease and pollution. Now that you're giving up cigarettes, you're supporting positivity in your environment. See, it's not just about you, it's about everyone around you. It's about your family, your friends, your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend. It's about your pets. It's about your home and your environment. Now you're going to feel more connected to people. You can't let anyone put you down or pull you away from this. This is huge. You're going to feel a massive effect on everything you do. You're going to feel improvement at your job, gardening, athletics, romance. See, I spend a little bit of energy every day eliminating toxins and negativity from my environment. It's always around us. You can't make the excuse that, hey, it was right there next to me and so I gave in. You've got to stay focused and stay positive. Now, we talked about in the course how the chemicals feed the fix. Remember that the nicotine isn't really relaxing you. It's not making you feel more confident. What it's doing is just relieving you of the anxiety and the stress. Okay, it's bringing that down temporarily, and as the nicotine wears off, it all comes back. So now that you're going to reload your system and replace the nicotine with vitamins and supplements, you are changing your energy field. You're supercharging your aura, your positivity, and people are going to notice it. People may walk by and say hi to you for no reason. They may pick up something you dropped or hand you something you lost, and you're affecting everything around you. So, I try to surround myself with positivity all the time and surround myself with people who are like-minded and can help me stay positive all day. Now, speaking of positive people, I want to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Joel King. Joel works at local hospitals and basically bridges the gap. There's a communication gap between what doctors do for their patients, the therapy or the healing that they go through, and what habits that the patients have that they need to break. It could be bad habits from just eating habits, or smoking, or drinking. Joel, can you share with my new non-smokers some of the strategies that you have put in place to help people recover and stay recovered?
Absolutely. Sean, first of all, I want to thank you for what you're doing. You're very empathetic in this world. You want to make the world a better place. And I want to congratulate all of you out there who have taken Sean's course up to this point. Now, what I do at hospitals is I work with medical students, like the M1s, 2s, and 3s, and 4s, and some of the residents. So I teach communication patterns between doctor and patient. And as we all know, the old adage of Dr. G-O-D, Dr. God, doctor knows everything, doctor knows best, is starting to fade away. The patient is now becoming educated. We have WebMD, we have all these internet websites that we can learn how to best take care of ourselves. So we are becoming as patients, as citizens, we are becoming more and more enlightened and the captains of our own ships. So doctors then need to learn to speak to people in a language that will help them to become more in control of their own health patterns, of their overall wholesome, healthy living habits. What Sean has done in the last hour's training class is educated me. I sat through his course as well a couple of times. I've totally enjoyed it and believe and agree with everything that he's doing. So what I teach then is educating doctors, educating medical students to reach the patient in a way that empowers the patient to make choices, right, healthy choices for themselves. So it's a whole different, more of an equal sharing in communication. Not the Dr. God who has all the answers and we as a poor little patient have no answers. We do have answers now, and we need to start using our brains to take care of our bodies. So you have received valuable information from Sean over this course. What are we going to do with it? So 2 kinds of communication patterns. Number 1 is how we communicate with other people. What I'm doing with you right now, I'm talking with you. I'm explaining our perspectives to you. The second communication pattern, which is even more powerful, is how we speak to ourselves. What's going on inside my mind? Am I positive? Do I have a clear, healthy perspective of who I am in the world at large? That is what Sean is talking about when he says it's very difficult to maintain the course. So if you become the captain of your own ship, let's just all say it right now. I am the captain of my own ship. And once you have that power, once your hands are firmly on that wheel, on that rudder, then you can guide. You can control the outcome. You can steer out of the addictive personality behavior patterns and into safe, healthy living, peaceful waters. That's what this is all about. So communicating with ourselves, not as Sean spoke about the crabs in the barrel, those disgruntled crabs that you know that perhaps you live with at the bottom of the barrel, reaching up to pull us back down into an unhealthy pattern of behavior because it makes them feel better. We stop listening to that, and then we start becoming more positive in our own minds, and we think positive. and seizing the bad or the negative self-destructive behavior pattern of nicotine addiction and cigarette smoking will make us healthy, give us new vitality, as Sean was speaking about, and help us to have this personal end speak, which is very powerful. That's what we need to attain to overcome a negative pattern of behavior, is that strong, clear course that comes from positive thinking. So, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I remember you talking about how, you know, a lot of people put up their guards with their relatives and their loved ones, and they train them not to confront them. And that's what I remember most about you telling me about what you do.
Absolutely. You know, when I teach work with the medical students, I tell them, I remind them they may be the last guard in helping people to confront themselves, helping people to confront negative behavior patterns. Why? Because if you have smoked cigarettes, say for 15 years, you're a 1-pack, 2-pack a day person, maybe at the beginning of your marriage, your wife, who doesn't smoke, say she doesn't smoke, says, honey, I don't like that. I wish you would stop smoking because you're killing yourself. We all know cigarette addiction causes cancer and a whole host of respiratory and other immune-related diseases. Honey, I love you and I want you to live a healthy life. I want us to grow old together and be healthy. And so you put up with that for a couple of years, but then you start shutting her down, right? This is what happens in a lot of relationships where there's addictions. You, as the addictive individual, start shutting down that positive influx of information you get from your spouse, your brother, your mother, your father, your co-workers, people who love you. You start telling them to stop talking. You stop listening to them. Pretty soon, they give up. So there are no longer anybody in your social group that will confront you. So when I speak to med students, I say, you may be the last individual on the planet that can reach this patient. He shut everybody else out. So it's up to you. You cannot skirt around it. As a doctor, you've got to confront. So when the doctor then confronts you about it, it's like a whole new shock and once more. But the reason you're more inclined to listen to the doctor is because you've already developed some sort of physical problem from your addictions, and that's why you're there. You've got emphysema, you got asthma, you got other immune-related problems, you got lung cancer. Then you've reached the bottom of your physical health barrel, and you're willing to listen. So let's start listening earlier. Let's listen to this gentleman with his positive approach to healthful living now, before you go to the hospital, before you have to reach that bottom and suffer the consequences of ill health.
You know, one thing you touched on that is a big part of my course is that, you know, it's a big transition to become a non-smoker. And there's little things that can steer people away. You know, it is a step-by-step process, and I've noticed that even in hospitals, there's a lot of bad food, including the artificial sweeteners are right there. So, you know, even like aspartame can create neurological problems and depression. And so if you're a smoker and you quit smoking and you are eating the wrong foods, or you are ingesting chemicals that you think are food, you may start to feel like you did when you were a smoker and you needed a cigarette. So it's really important step by step to filter out all these horrible chemicals from your daily diet.
Yes,
so that you feel positive all day.
Yes.
You know, that energy, that vitality is what carries you to do the right thing and move forward with your whole commitment. And so it's a short-term goal and it's a long-term goal also. And you just stick with it. You stick with it day by day and meal by meal, and you filter all the chemicals out of your diet. I wrote my book on called Don't Eat Cancer,
right,
which basically teaches people to filter out the chemicals from their daily diet that they think are food.
Yeah. Well, so what Sean has done is, cigarette addiction is a passion for this man, and it's probably one of the single most killers of Americans today. I mean, along with heart disease, which it can contribute to. But Sean has many other talents, and he is really holistic about the whole body. And he's written this wonderful book about unhealthy living habits of Americans. We've gotten away from the health, from the roots of our heritage, the growing of vegetables, eating organically. It's just too easy to go to the grocery store and buy a bag of vegetables that somebody else has washed and bleached and processed and put into a little casserole and pop it in the oven. So, but the very little food value involved there. So read this man's book and the rest of his work, which is forthcoming on this website, and educate yourself in a holistic point of view. After you quit smoking, we can only do one thing at a time. I understand that. So stop smoking, get healthy, get your lung power back, get new oxygen running through your blood system, oxygen to the brain, so you can think about all the other wonderful things that are you going to be looking forward to in the future to clean up your whole health life.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I'm going to stay with this. This is research that I do on an ongoing basis. So you can go to 14andout.com and blog or make comments or ask questions. I check it every day and I respond. And I also write. I'm a journalist for naturalnews.com, and I have an article published almost every day on Natural News. And I love the site. Mike Adams, the health ranger, runs it. And if you keep up with that and watch his videos, go to YouTube and search Mike Adams and David Wolf. Those guys are masters of nutrition and natural energy, and you feel it. You watch them speak, and you feel the vitality, and it's just ongoing research. So just become an enthusiast, because you have a new healthy lifestyle. Don't let anyone drag you away from it. You've made a commitment. I appreciate you watching 14 and Out. Stick with nutrition, and I hope you have a great life as a non-smoker. When I'm in a room with someone who wants to quit smoking, I guess I transfer that energy and that positivity by looking at them as if they're a relative who's dying. You know, cigarettes can kill you in 10 years. A lot of people, they live with that, immediate gratification. It's kind of an American way of life that we just don't think long term. But we're not talking long term anymore. The cigarettes are so lethal now. They're so juiced up to give you that nicotine fix, and with all these chemicals to make them burn right and make them efficient, that now people are coming into hospitals with tumors and with damage from the chemicals. It's not even just the smoke anymore. It's all these chemicals are causing issues right in the short term. And I feel sorry for people who don't know that. Okay, a lot of people won't quit. A lot of people don't want to quit. There's people that are going to take my class and say, okay, well, it's great, I know what I know now, and they're not going to quit. But there's a lot of people out there who, if they know what I know, and I've had people, when I'm done with my class, say, I'm done. I'm done now. I worked in attics with fiberglass. I worked on a farm and used pesticide. They've been around some of the things that I expose, and they say, that's it, I'm done. And so that's the difference. They understand what it is they're quitting. And that feeling, when somebody says that to me, that makes me feel like I'm in their family.